we know that he wants to be seen as one of the great state-building heroes of the Russian pantheon, shall we say. And if he feels he doesn't have much longer to do it, then he may well take chances, take gambles that he wouldn't otherwise. Secondly, it may well actually affect his rationality.
If Finland joins NATO, Russia will have an 810-mile border with a NATO country. Vladimir Putin has said Finland joining the alliance would be a mistake. How rattled will he be?
On one level, not at all. On another level, greatly. Not at all strategically, in that, frankly, the Russians have for a long time essentially seen Finland and Sweden as kind of semi-detached parts of NATO anyway. It doesn't really change the military situation in a meaningful way. Politically, though, it's yet another sign of just how badly his invasion of Ukraine has misfired, not just obviously, as we've heard, in country, but also in terms of reshaping the whole way in which the Western alliance is perceived. So I think as yet another sign that he misjudged so badly, that is going to rattle him absolutely. And
he has a good working relationship with the president of Finland, doesn't he? I mean, they've played ice hockey together. I've heard they are in dialogue with each other. Does this mean that their relationship would be irreparably damaged?
I suspect so. I mean, look, the Finns have for a long time been very good at, shall we say, managing Russia. They've been very aware, on the one hand, they have a strategy of territorial defense. That means they're not actually afraid of Russian invasion. They feel that they could handle it. But on the other hand, they obviously try to avoid that. So there's been a lot of cooperation, everything from law enforcement to political dialogue to, indeed, yes, ice hockey. But I think Putin tends to see these things as very visceral. Increasingly, he seems to see the world is divided between friends of Russia and traitors and enemies. And if you're not one, then you are absolutely another. So yes, I think this is going to be the break of any kind of personal relationship there.
The Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, has warned against the West isolating Moscow. Should we take these threats seriously?
They're serious in that they speak to what Russia really is worried about. But on the other hand, the honest answer is, well, what are they going to do about it? I mean, Lavrov in particular, he's become increasingly and unrealistically strident. If I were a cynic, I would suggest that actually, after all, this is a man who has tried to retire many times and Putin hasn't let him. This is almost Lavrov going so over the top that he's actually hoping to be sacked instead. But that's just sort of random speculation. No, but I think this is it. At the moment, the Russians have got very little other than rhetoric. And so they are hoping to try and be able to bully and intimidate their way, but it's not really working. Whereas it has worked in previous years. Again, the whole situation has changed.
Speaking of speculation, there have been reports this weekend that Vladimir Putin has blood cancer. Now, you are not a doctor. As far as I know, you have not personally examined Vladimir Putin, but you have followed his life and you'll notice changes in him. Should we take rumours like this seriously?
Yeah, I mean, I should start by saying I'm delighted to concur that I have never examined Vladimir Putin. Look, I think there is clearly something amiss with him. I mean, absolutely. I've been watching this guy for, 24 years plus, really. And it's clear that the Putin we see now is very different from the Putin we saw, say, before COVID. And there's all kinds of speculations. Everyone is an amateur diagnostician now. So that, we have people suggesting it's Parkinson's because of trembling extremities. We have people suggesting that it's thyroid cancer because he's being attended by a doctor who specializes in that. And now we've had this claim that it's blood cancer. Look, the honest answer is we don't know. And I think even the people who, within intelligence services who are clearly trying to work this out don't know. There is something, it clearly is affecting his health. But I think the key point that's worth making is that the consensus seems to be that the various things he may have are not ones that are likely to take him out of commission, either incapacitate him or kill him shortly. I mean, they absolutely affect his capacity to be perhaps rational. They maybe change his kind of time frame for how he looks at his strategies. But there's not something that we should think is going to magically, as it were, solve the Russia problem for us any day now.
Will Vladimir Putin, someone who's so keen to always appear the strong man in the peak of health, will he be angered by these rumours?
it's always been such a taboo, anything to do with Putin's health. I mean, for example, look, we've known for a long time that he suffers from recurring back injuries, especially ever since he fell off a horse, precisely in part of his whole giving his persona of the sort of macho man of the wild. And at times he drops out of view for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And that's almost certainly precisely because of a flare-up in problems, and he didn't want to look incapacitated. So yes, this has been something that has been definitely sort of out of any kind of public discussion or scrutiny in Russia. Will he be angered? I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think he has so many things to be angered about at the moment. It's just a question of just adding one more to the list.
If he is ill, would that make him more dangerous?
I think it does, unfortunately. And I mean, the thought of Putin becoming more dangerous is, after all, not something we really want to consider. But as I said, first of all, it may well change his sense of the timeline. I mean, we know that he wants to be seen as one of the great state-building heroes of the Russian pantheon, shall we say. And if he feels he doesn't have much longer to do it, then he may well take chances, take gambles that he wouldn't otherwise. Secondly, it may well actually affect his rationality. I mean, some of the times we've seen him, particularly at the infamous Security Council meeting before he declared war, I mean, this is a guy who looked much, much less in control of himself, in control of his emotions than before. And the third thing is, look, the Russian elite is made up of ruthless, pragmatic figures. They're opportunists. At present, they support Putin because, in a way, it's too dangerous not to, and that's their advantage. If we see the risk that there's going to be some kind of change, then actually we can't predict where it's going to go. It could go in more liberal and progressive ways, or we could find some even more hawkish figure taking over instead.
And is there an obvious successor to Vladimir Putin?
No, there's not. This is the interesting thing. 3 months ago, if you'd asked me, I would have said it was the defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, who is a very sort of competent political operator as well as bureaucratic manager, and has the almost unique talent within Russian politics of not having made terrible enemies along the way. You know, one of Shoigu's great strengths is no one hates him, which is rare enough, actually, in Russian politics these days. However, with the fact of the war having gone so badly, I mean, his reputation is tarnished as well. So this is the thing. There is no heir apparent. Putin has long made it clear that he wasn't willing to allow there to be anyone who seemed to be the heir apparent. If, constitutionally, if he keels over tomorrow, then the Prime Minister, Mishustin, takes over and there have to be new elections within 3 months. But in a way, Mishustin is not really enough of a heavyweight to be a sort of shoe-in as a replacement. So this is it. It will be an absolute throw of the dice as far as we're concerned.
Mark Galeotti, it's always such a pleasure to hear your insights. Mark Galeotti there, author of We Need to Talk About Putin. Thank you.